let's try this again with hopefully more internet connection and Wi-Fi. So I am outside, so you may hear noises. There are chickens behind me, there's a dog, there's some some gardening going on in the gardens around, and I'm staying in the most amazing place this week. I'm going to share more about this later on, but I have been doing some inner work this week and getting myself to a position where I can share this with you, and the intent of me sharing this with you is to be of service. And I had a chat with a friend and said, like, what is the point of me sharing this unless I can be of service in some way by sharing this with others? And I don't want this to just be about me. I want it to be, how can I tap into that bigger picture of my mission and my purpose and why I'm here on this planet by sharing this information. So this is why I'm here. And I've also done a significant amount of inner work and shadow work this week to be able to come out and be confident to talk about this with you. So I'm coming out of the closet, and the different closet I'm coming out of this time is the autism closet. So I have recently been diagnosed with autism, and I wanted to just share that journey with you because it might resonate with some people watching. I know if you're here in this group, you're probably sensitive, and really, to be honest, which I will talk about, I'll share more about this. As long as we are taking care of ourselves and we know what it is that our body needs, we know what boundaries we need to set, we know what our non-negotiables are, the label doesn't necessarily matter, but there is something important for us as neurodivergents to be aware of, and why we are here, and our gifts, which I will be sharing with you today as well. It's very breezy as well. When I first tried to do this video, I was like in a pear tree, like a partridge in a pear tree. Okay, so, and you know how with these things, I talk about this, how we get our we get the white feathers, we get the little nudges, and then when we don't listen to the white feathers, the brick comes, then comes the dump truck. So I had my universal dump truck with this last year, and I wanted to share this story with you. So last year I went to my first wedding since lockdown. Not only was it my first wedding since lockdown, it was my first wedding in a long time without drinking. And it was also a wedding where I didn't really know anyone there. Okay, so consider all these factors, and I struggled with the wedding. Now, a white feather before this was my own wedding, which was a bit of a red flag at the time. I'm now divorced, got married in 2014, and I could not cope with my own wedding. I could not cope being the centre of attention all day, all eyes being on me, spending all day with all of those people. I actually ended up being so physically poorly. I spent more time in the honeymoon suite than I did out with my guests, especially my evening guests. I nearly missed my first dance, and I was actually, I can laugh about this now, I was actually sick in the bushes at the end of the night in front of my then husband's boss. So went really well. So I think that was kind of showing me there was a few things going on there. Wasn't just nerves, it was more than that. And I've done a whole, and this is also what's led me up to this moment, right? I've done a whole load of healing, a whole load of inner work, shadow work, work on my traumas, work through my childhood, inner child work. I've studied psychology and personal development and energy for now 18 years, I believe. So this has all led me up to this point, and that's a blessing and a curse, because I have been healing my traumas that were associated with the autism. So that was kind of not masking it, but masking it in some way, but also that meant I was incredibly highly functioning. And I completely appreciate not everyone out there has psychology as their special interest and is able to, oh my god, there's a huge grasshopper on my screen. Let me just try and get him to hop off, and then I can carry on. He's going to hop onto me now. Oh my goodness. So he's still there, so I'm just gonna step away for a moment. Right, he's on the grass now, he can hop on my legs, that's fine. The joys of doing a video outside, hey. I've completely lost him now, but he's blended in with the grass, so that's fine. He was enormous. Okay, so Yeah, so that's another reason why I was a bit torn, because where I got to with this was like, actually, as long as I'm tuning in with what I need for my sensitivities, I know I'm super sensitive, right? No matter what the label. So as long as we are tuning in with what it is that we need and our boundaries, it doesn't matter. And that was why I was torn about sharing this, because I was like, does it matter? And then this overwhelming yes came through. Yes, to be of service and to help others share this information, because not everyone has had this healing journey, not everyone has been on this path. So yes, you need to share this information. Okay, and it's telling me yet again I'm having connection issues, which I know I am not, because I can see I've got full Wi-Fi, so it is probably just some energies trying to stop me from sharing this. So I'm just going to carry on and just hope that you can hear me and you can still see me okay. Just let me know if you can't. Okay, I think we're still live. Let me just check. Yeah, should be okay. Okay. So here is my journey. I hope I don't have to repeat myself. Okay, so I went to this wedding and I could not cope with it. I went off on a tangent about my own wedding, didn't I? So I could not cope with this wedding. The food was late. I hadn't eaten for most of the day. I was there with a lot of people I didn't know. It was the first wedding I'd been to in a while where I wasn't drinking. And as the day went on, I found it more and more difficult to be able to cope with it. And when it got to just after the meal, I got to a point where I was so overwhelmed that the tears were just rolling down my face. And so I took myself away to try and calm myself down. I sat outside for a bit and I couldn't calm myself down. Everything in my body was saying get out. It was literally, it was like there was a fire and I needed to escape, was how I was feeling. It was like, get out, get out, get out. You need to get out. This isn't safe. The people around me at that point in time were quite drunk and that was making me feel even more unsafe. And unfortunately what happened is I didn't travel there myself. I travelled there with other people, and so I was reliant on other people to get myself home. It was also quite far from home, so it's not like I could have just got a taxi. It was also in the middle of nowhere, and so it took a lot of mental energy to try and persuade. So I tried for maybe an hour to stay there, to calm myself down, to breathe, to meditate. I went and took myself off. I was wearing a silly dress which didn't really help in heels, so I couldn't just walk off in the countryside, which is probably what I needed to do. Lesson to always take trainers and a change of clothes when you go to these things. And yeah, it just got too much for me. Then it took me a lot of mental energy to persuade those that I was with that I needed to leave. They did eventually agree that we could leave, but by the time I'd got in the car and we were on the way home, I was in such a burnout state. I was just like, had this like anger like coming in. I was just so upset. I was just crying and crying and crying and crying. And that affected me for a few days afterwards as well. I felt really burnt out. I felt like I was recovering from an illness. I felt really physically unwell. So this was my dump truck last year, and I went to an RTT therapist who I've seen before. I love RTT, or anything that works with subconscious mind. And she said to me, I'm not going to do RTT on you today, because I don't think this is trauma. And I know you love healing your traumas and you've done loads of work up to this point. You've done years of work in trauma healing. I do not believe this is trauma. I believe this is autism. And I stopped and I went, yeah, you're not the first person that said that. She said, I think you need to look at it. And I thought, okay, right, let's treat myself as an experiment. You know, there's going to be others that I may need to help through this process. So let's go through the process. Let's see what this process is like, and let's just see what the outcome is. Let's just treat myself as an experiment. I can see some notifications. Okay, fab. If you have any questions, let me know. If you're catching this on the replay, let me know and I will come back and answer any questions. So I went to my doctor and he said, oh, I don't think it's autism, I think you're just stressed, I'll put you on a CBT course. Thankfully as well, he referred me to this mental health nurse. Her name was Sarah. She was amazing. And I did the CBT course just to tick the box. It didn't help me at all. In fact, it made me feel worse. I felt frustrated. It was a waste of time. It wasn't anything I didn't already know. And actually I found that focusing on stress in the stress course actually was going to make people worse. So I have passed on that feedback. Anyway, that's a side point. So I played the game. Thankfully this mental health nurse was amazing. So if you're at this stage in your journey and you have a mental health nurse at your doctor's surgery, do go and see them. This one in particular was amazing. She'd done loads of research on female autism, and she said, yep, I get it, like we've missed a whole load of research over the years, and so many women have been missed and prescribed anxiety medication, given antidepressants, like given all this medication that they should have never had because they were just autistic and they just needed to be looked after. They just needed to set boundaries and design their life around their sensitivities. Same as being HSP. Do you see what I mean? This is why I was torn with sharing it, because actually, like, it's, you know, we're sensitive. What do we need for those sensitivities? It's kind of no different. So she said, I get it and I hear you, let's do it, let's do the referral. So she, thankfully, I'm so grateful for her, and I appreciate not everyone will have this support, but if you can get your mental health nurse in your surgery, do it. And she persuaded my doctor to sign the forms, and I got through. There was a 13-week waiting list. For me it was actually 17 in the end by the time I got my appointment. And after 2 appointments, because the psychiatrist wasn't sure and said it was like borderline the whole way through, she did finally diagnose me in the end, for the reason that my sensory, having extra heightened sensory abilities, and what I had, you know, what I'd noticed with the wedding, I had the same thing happen at a festival. And feeling the intensity, which obviously we also know is energy. So I believe being autistic, being neurodivergent, we're feeling the energy. That's all it is. So actually it really is a gift. But she said these things did mean that I was on the spectrum. And also my special interest in psychology, which she said is actually, there's a steam train in the background, which my special interest in psychology, which she said was actually a blessing and a curse, because I'd spent 18 years healing myself. So I'd healed most of the associated traumas anyway, so I was actually really quite functioning, and didn't really need much support. So, which also masked a lot of it for her in trying to do the diagnostic process. So blessing and a curse. So yeah, so she did give me that diagnosis, mainly due to the sensory and the special interest in psychology. She said generally we find people that become obsessed with psychology and self-development and healing themselves are autistic as well, especially women. We sort of very quickly at a young age start to mask and start to look at, okay, how can I help myself? How can I be the best I can be? How can I, this was kind of my story, how can I heal myself so I can finally fit in? How can I heal my sensitivities? And actually what I needed to do was, yes, there was a lot of trauma to heal, but I also needed to, now plums are falling off the tree, it's all happening in this countryside garden. Yeah, so that was my journey. I then went away from that conversation and was like, what was the point? Like, what next? What next? So the only thing I will say was it was extremely validating for my inner child, because when I was younger, I always used to say to my parents, when will you tell me what's wrong with me? I feel like something's wrong with me. When will you tell me? When will it be my next birthday? Maybe when I'm 6 you'll tell me, when I'm 7 you'll tell me. So it was incredibly validating for my inner child to hear that there was something slightly different about the way her brain works. And that is something I've had to work through this week, because I love healing trauma, I love doing shadow work, and there was still part of me this week that was hanging on to yes, medically you're giving me this label, but maybe I can still heal it. So actually, if I associate with that label and that term, that means it's final, and therefore I can't heal that. And I'm so passionate about we can change our lives that I'm not sure I'm willing to actually to go ahead with that label. So this is the work I've had to go through this week. But the point that I've reached is that actually by sharing this and by sharing this awareness, it can be incredibly validating for the times we felt weird or different, or like we're constantly trying to heal this trauma. And the fact is, we need to take care of ourselves, we need to up our self-love, we need to actually do things in a little bit of a different way when we are neurodivergent, because our brains are wired differently, and that is okay. So it really can come into, there's now a wasp, can come into this acceptance of who we are and what we authentically need. So it has helped me validate my experiences, and also because HSP is a trait and the doctors don't even know what it is, it has helped me validate my experiences in the 3D world and to explain what it is that I need and my boundaries to people, because people understand the word autism, they don't understand the word HSP. Ultimately, we should all live in a world where we are accepted for who we are, but sometimes there are some 3D things that we do need to navigate, where having that understanding is useful. So that's what I've been working through this week, is actually having that acceptance of it, and then looking at, okay, what do I want to do with this information? And the main thing for me really is just upping that validation in terms of what I need, knowing I'm extra sensitive, knowing that I have a limited social battery, knowing that certain things are going to overwhelm me, and how do I take better care of myself around that. And all of the work that I do is now even more relevant, because especially if we are highly empathic, highly attuned to energy, highly sensory, and I know a lot of you have been feeling this week, the Lionsgate energy is too much, it's too much, and we're trying to ground it all, because we are sensitive and we're here to feel it all, so we know what it is the collective needs, know what it is that we need to heal, that we need to work through as well. That is all an incredible gift. That is what we're here to do. And I can't think of the point I was trying to make with that. Yeah, so it is a gift, and the work that I do, which I do myself as well as with my clients, around bringing positive psychology practices in. So they help, because, so let's make this practical now, right? Here are the things that have helped me with my sensitivities anyway, that I will continue to do to help with the autism. So positive psychology practices. So the likelihood is, if we've got more sensory receptors, we are more likely to go into that fight or flight mode. So this is why I now know that positive psychology has changed my life, because bringing those positive emotions in, flooding the brain with those positive emotions, has shut down the fight or flight centre in my brain, has made my amygdala at the back of my brain less reactive. So I've built my resilience up, so I'm not constantly getting, I mean, yes, you know, I still have a limit, and I still have times where I have to have boundaries and take extra care of myself, but I'm not getting as much of that dysregulation happening, because I am able to use those positive psychology tools. Working with the quantum, right? So we can shift and change, and we can choose anything in any given moment. So we can heal the associated traumas, we can heal lifetimes, we can heal timelines, and we can clear any energies. So because we're super sensitive, we also have to clear more energies as well. And you know, the dark will attract like a moth to a flame, and that is okay, and it's having acceptance for that, and just being like, right, I need to do some extra clearing. So you know, when I get home, I'm going to get my quantum clearing kit out, and I do clearings on myself like anytime I need it. I definitely have needed it and needed to do some clearing this week with the Lionsgate energy, because so much dark coming through with that light as well. And that's okay, it's just having acceptance of that. I'm going to feel it, and that is okay. What do I need to do with that? Okay, do not gaslight, the dog agrees, Do not gaslight yourself out of feeling stuff. I shouldn't feel it. I should be stronger. I should be able to protect myself better. The reality is you're sensitive and you're here to feel that for a reason, okay? So this brings me on to your gifts, and I'm going to end this video because I've come out to you all now. I've shared my story. And that is that when we are neurodivergent, and someone said this to me the other day, and I was like, oh my God, yes. So I met this guy and he said, I feel that people that are neurodivergent are advanced beings here to shift the world. And I was like, yes, I've also channeled that information. That we are here with our gifts, with our sensitive gifts, to feel what it is that the collective needs so that we can help them, so we can be of service. So I know this week I felt the energies of Lionsgate have been too much for me this week. Too much for me to transmute and ground, and actually I don't need to go up and connect more and try and manifest in this energy. I just need to pull that through and ground it because it is too intense. So knowing that information, I know other sensitive people are struggling with that as well, and feeling that they should be doing these meditations, they should be doing these manifestations, and they shouldn't be feeling bad, they should be feeling great. So because I'm feeling all of that, I know how I can be best of service to my clients. And in Quantum Alignment Group, we've had an amazing conversation this week about the energies and about grounding. So if you are feeling these things, if you are neurodivergent, if you are whatever that means to be authentically you, the train is cheering me on, woo-hoo, then that is because you are here to create a new earth. And you will feel different to those around you because you are different, because you're here to be different, because this is your purpose here on this planet. This is the whole reason that you are here, to be different and to transmute these shadows into gifts so you can be of service to the world, and set those boundaries so that you can be of service to the world. So that is my coming out video. Any questions? Let me know. And I have another exciting announcement which I think will be landing on Tuesday. A couple of you are already first in the know because you've been messaging me after my post saying something is coming. So if you want to be first in the know, because this is going to go super quick, let me know. And yeah, another announcement is coming for something super exciting. So thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and I hope that I can be of service to you by sharing this information. Any questions, let me know, and sending you all lots of love.